All right, let's dive into a worldview that makes a pretty wild claim that a single nation's identity is directly plugged into the fate of the entire universe. It's this fascinating mix of history, spirituality, and, believe it or not, a unique take on physics. So, how does it all fit together? Let's find out.
We're going to kick things off with this really powerful statement from the source material. South Korea is the Research Institute for Humanity. I mean, wow, that's a provocative idea, right? And really, understanding what's behind this statement is the key to unlocking this whole philosophy we're digging into.
So where does an idea that big even come from? Well, it all starts with this core concept of identity. It's a term that's right at the heart of this entire worldview, Chensan.
Okay, so what in the world is Chunsun? Well, the word literally translates to descendants of heaven, or heaven's workers. Now, according to this philosophy, it's a very specific term for the Korean people, and it gives them this, cosmic purpose right from the get-go.
But this isn't just some label they came up with. The source explains that this identity was kind of forged under very specific historical circumstances. Being a single ethnicity nation that held onto its core identity for a really long time, never scattering even when things got incredibly tough. And all of this was supposedly for one purpose: to be cultivated as humanity's future leaders.
Okay, so we've got this idea of a people cultivated for leadership. But to really get what their purpose is, we first have to understand this really critical distinction the source makes. And that's the difference between being a human and being a person.
So this philosophy lays out two totally distinct stages of being, and it uses the Korean words ingan and saram. Now, this isn't about two different kinds of people, but it's more like a journey, a spiritual evolution from one state to the next.
And right here, you can see that journey laid out so clearly. On one side, we have ingen. This is described as living a more, animal-like existence. You're still growing, you're attached to material things. But on the other side, you have saram. This is where growth is complete. A saram is said to live like a god, and their whole purpose shifts away from themselves and towards serving others.
So, the ultimate goal of life, inside this whole framework, is for an ingan to finish their growth. Shed all those attachments to stuff, and basically level up into a saram.
So, once someone actually becomes a saram, what are they supposed to do? I mean, what's the job description? This is where the Hongik Ingan mission comes into play.
Hongik Ingan is another one of these key terms. It basically describes a leader whose life is dedicated to one single thing: to broadly benefit all of humanity. It's the very definition of a selfless purpose, the ultimate way to be a saram.
And listen, this isn't just a nice idea or, a career option. For a saram, this is their sole purpose. It is the fundamental reason for their existence once they've reached that fully realized state.
This quote just nails the whole vibe of that mission. My purpose is not for my own greatness, but to dedicate my life to the benefit of humanity. It's a complete 180-degree shift away from the self and toward everyone else.
Okay, so we've got the Chensen, whose goal is to become a saram, and then fulfilled this Hongik Ingan mission. But how? How does this selfless action actually make a difference? Well, according to this philosophy, the answer is all about the power of frequency. The source basically says that everything, every single action, every piece of matter generates a frequency or a wave. It's this really cool concept that uses the language of physics to try and explain how a person's inner state can literally affect the world around them.
But here's the kicker. Not all frequencies are created equal. You've got your base frequency, which is simple. It's generated by physical impact, like hitting a drum. It has a pretty limited effect. But then you have a saram frequency. This is generated by a selfless act for humanity and is described as a much higher quality, a spiritual wave that can reach so much further.
And this is where the whole thing just gets cosmic. The idea is this huge ripple effect. A saram does something for humanity, and that generates this super powerful frequency. This wave is said to first shake the earth, then it expands to shake the entire universe, and ultimately it moves the heavens themselves. It's one person's selfless choice echoing through all of existence. Pretty wild.
So all of this brings us to the stakes. This isn't just an abstract theory to think about. It's presented as a destiny that has to be fulfilled, with real, immediate consequences for the person and for the whole world.
The source is really blunt about this, saying if you don't do what you're meant to do, life becomes incredibly difficult. This just highlights the immense personal weight of this destiny. It's not a suggestion, it's a cosmic command.
So you basically have two paths, laid out in really stark terms. If you fulfill your destiny as a Hongik Ingon, your life becomes joyful, your soul gets light, and you transcend the material world. But if you ignore that destiny, life becomes terrifyingly difficult, a state of just immense suffering.
And the final conclusion is a heavy one. The source argues that if the people who are meant to lead, these Saram, don't actually step up and fulfill their selfless mission, then peace just won't come to humanity. The fate of the world is literally tied to their choice. So this leaves us with a question that goes way beyond this one philosophy. Whether you believe in cosmic ripples or not, the core idea here is a really powerful one. It asks all of us to think about our own actions, our own intentions, and to ask ourselves, what frequency are you creating?